Welcome to week 3 of the quest, Memories of the Future. It's fascinating how this particular painting fell on Easter. As you look at the painting, you'll notice that memory is looking backwards. It is our memory of our oneness that so much calls us back to that oneness. But as you and I both know, you can't go back. You have to go forward. The oneness that we've experienced is the oneness of, well, you could call it the Edenic oneness. It is the oneness that we experienced in the Garden of Eden. And that was a really wonderful place, according to the myths, but we weren't conscious of our oneness with God. This is a lot like the experience that a baby has, doesn't realize that it's not its mother. Actually, in the womb, the baby, if you ask the baby, what is its mother, it would say, mother, what do you mean mother? I'm just here growing and I have everything I need. And that's the pre-rational experience of oneness. And yet it is that very memory of perfection and support and wholeness and that calls us to something. We know that that's available to us, but we can't go back. It's the very memory of that pulls us into our spiritual quest and into our future. And how fascinating that this fell on the Easter Sunday. In the biblical story, then, if you think of Adam and Eve as being in that Edenic oneness, then Christ, the Christ consciousness, is actually the return to oneness, but from a completely conscious point of view. The figure of Jesus of Nazareth is giving us an experience of what it is to be a human being transformed into conscious oneness, the conscious experience of oneness. And all of his life, what is called, and his ministry is calling us to that oneness. So the figure or the story of Jesus of Nazareth gives us a blueprint, if you will, of what it looks like to be a human being who has chosen to consciously return to oneness, to have that memory so real that he's turned and made his whole life out of that and has shown us what that can be like. Actually, to the point where being willing to go towards his death and to experience death, recognizing that even death itself does not impact that oneness. There's nowhere to go outside of God. So having memories of the future, how many of us are actually traveling through life looking in the rearview mirror? Always looking over our shoulder at the good old days. I mean, that's really what the Garden of Eden entices us back to. Sometime in the past, the good old days, when everything was fine, everything was great. But there's no good old days that we can go back to. Actually, the truth is right now we're living in the good old days. For someday, this is going to be the good old days. So we're constantly being invited into the question of how willing are we to let go of the experiences of our past so that we can be drawn into the greater yet to be. Do you see, if we're constantly measuring our current reality and our future by our past, it's never going to be any different. We have to actually release that. We actually have to let go of Eden so that we can move into the Christ consciousness. So where are you looking in the rearview mirror? Where are you holding on to the good old days? Where are you using the past as the mold for the future? Memories of the future. Just imagine what the future could be like as we move into our conversation about this in your study group. Have fun. In the painting, the face of meditation has become central. Memory appears as yet ghost-like in the background. It is an exciting time for the man and the woman who gallop confidently into the forest of ideas. The distant mountains symbolize their aspirations. On the right, they have climbed to the summit of one mountain only to find a higher one ahead of them. There is no way of knowing how to get there because mist obscures the way. Nevertheless, it is a moment of euphoria for the travelers who are unaware of the storm building overhead.
Stand by, cheese. Ready, set, one.